No, that's what I'm saying. Before the wall yeller even happened, Day was already onto this. Day was already talking about it, and Christmas actually is not on with this. Christmas is actually anti this plan. Christmas is still going after Day and Bay, so this has not helped Christmas at all. Day was already anti-Danny. Tyler was already anti-Danny. If it accelerated anything, if it caused anything, I would love to know exactly where that.
I feel like, just to like kind of play the middleman here, I do feel like that Karen doesn't see the evidence.
When have you been the middleman?
That's what I said. I was telling the chat. This is crazy, but I love it. So like, Taryn doesn't see the evidence. Sharifa doesn't.
The fucking NPC just knocked fucking Gilly over.
Energy that the wall yeller caused that then made the house explode, but from Karen's point of view, that was already going to happen anyway, just so happened on the same night that the wall yeller was there.
So you think all this would happen that night if it wasn't? Because I think it would have happened long term. Okay.
Tyler talked about how he planned on doing it.
Yeah, I also think that, you know, I think that what Ian is talking about is probably the direct result of the wall, and if Ian was somehow part of this, I think you could say, link the wall yeller to, okay, here's what's going to happen, because Ian is sort of leading the charge. But as far as I understand, Ian is sort of on his own Don Quixote-esque quest to crack this thing open, but he's not really getting anywhere.
Exactly. And again, like, this has not, like, the wall yeller had nothing to do with Danny. I think that if we were talking about, like, what
this
the
crowd
wall
is a
yeller
powder
influence,
keg.
you would be talking about,
You
like,
can't
why
allow
isn't
him to
Nicole
light
the
the
target?
fuse.
Why isn't
But-
Cody the target?
but nothing.
Danny's the target because that's the
Do as
person
I
that was
say and
already
go.
the target, and Tyler had already planned on doing this stuff. And the energy, that kinetic energy,
Thank God for
was
tailing
already
that
there the
shot.
night before. They had already talked about it. Day and Bay had talked about it.
I don't
Tyler
think
and Em
it
had talked about it.
was.
It was.
It's Karen. It's just like
Not to that extent.
Yeah, in terms of like actual evidence, I probably agree with Taryn a little bit more, but I do take Sharifa's side in terms of like it was a pretty static house. I felt like the energy was low, and then like the wall yeller happened, and then the energy was high.
Here's what I'll say: the audience's energy levels were low the night before.
Okay, that's fair.
I watched the feeds for this kind of thing, and I was very excited the night before because I was seeing the pieces come together, and then the audience got very excited about the wall yeller because they were like, something's going to change with Tyler and Nicole, and then something changed with Danny, and they were like, there must be a connection, but I really don't see it. And I'm saying, it's absolutely, we didn't see the feeds. They were down for 3 hours. It's totally possible that maybe there was something there that we don't know about, but I think it's irresponsible to say that this definitely changed things when all of the evidence points.
I will say that, remember, we read Kevin for filth for his bad reads in terms of like, well, I know this doesn't fit with this and this doesn't fit with this, but they must go together somehow. Like we come for Kevin, Sharifa. So I
don't think it's irresponsible. What I think, for me, what I'm sensing, and it very much goes into Bren's point, is that there was a major energy. I don't think you can say, okay, hold on, let me rephrase. I'm going to say what I'm
love your point. No, I love it. I'm with you. Yes.
I don't think that you can definitively say that the energy was going to be there for the house to explode the way that it did, because there was such a shift. That conversation between Day and Christmas was such a turn for me because
are you fucking serious, game? Okay, cool.
She normally reveals for
Just trying to go down the other side.
A lot more targeted and specific than what she was saying. And yes, the wall yeller did not say specific things about
So
Danny.
you're saying
but
that
what did the Day and Christmas conversation do?
But I think what she's trying to say is that people got the wall yeller indicated to people that there is
Fuck off! I think
of
course I
that they are not currently aware of, and that caused them to then give up more information and talk more game with other people, and accelerated the game where it otherwise would not have been.
But who were the people that happened to? Like, I want specific details here.
Well, so the conversation that Day and Christmas had about Enzo using this as an opportunity to backdoor somebody and to save Kaser. Christmas then goes to Enzo before, I don't know if it was before the conversations that Enzo had with Tyler, before we were aware that Tyler was going to go have conversations with Day and Bay, and was like, listen, I'm just going to let you know that Day is going to come to you with this idea. I will do whatever you want, but for me, I felt that she absolutely wanted something to happen where she didn't end up on the block. That was the energy I was feeling on her, and I definitely read energy.
But yeah, but she had already been feeling that way the night before.
Well, I didn't.
the wall yeller might be Laurel and Yanni of
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
I just don't think you can be definitive that I think it's open.
I'm not being definitive. There's absolutely.
Okay, neither one of them are being definitive. Just
But
like,
I have yet to hear any evidence pointing to it.
okay.
All right.
Well, because it's sorry.
Alright.
Well, Brent, let me just ask you something, just from like a big picture perspective. That do
Your
you
plot is
think
ended.
that
Not quite.
the wall yeller, who is somebody who is who should be considered like a nuisance to the game, that the wall yeller, I'm not sure is the hero that we deserve, but it's the hero that we have right now.
That's the thing.
That do you think that if the show was to incorporate more of, say, like a America's HOH, or have some sort of like where people felt like that they had some sort of more of a voice in what was happening, that they would be less likely to applaud somebody who was trying to be some sort of outside influence on the game.
Yeah, but this happens a lot. Like, we get a wall yeller, like, usually, like, once a season.
I need to
It's
find
pretty rare
Achilles.
that they are articulate enough outside the wall for the house guests to actually be able to understand what they said, though. But yes, I do believe that if they were giving America, like a little bit of a say and stuff, that maybe we wouldn't feel this way. But then again, like, America goes the wrong way, so oftentimes the casuals go the wrong way, and then we still want to yell over the wall. So I don't know if it would have done anything.
I don't recall like this kind of enthusiasm for it. I know the polling that was done said anti-wall yelling, but I feel like
That's the audience that cares about the game and rating the players.
right. It just is. It's fascinating to see this kind of the wall yeller, in many circles treated as a hero. Where I feel like that I don't recall that kind of enthusiasm.
Because
for
we're
wall
fed
yeller.
up with the game. That's the thing. We're fed up with the fact that the 6 freaking people in the house who seem to have control of the game, 6, 7, or whichever way you want to look at which alliance is in control, are all the Caucasian people in the house, all the people of color, Kaser, Kevin, David, Day, Faye, all on the outside looking in with no real shot.
And also it's boring.
Yes, and it's boring too, but it also sucks.
If we're gonna entertain that the wall yeller truly did make a difference,
Which Taryn is not, but we are.
Taryn
Yes,
is not,
yes,
and that's
cool.
okay. He's
Yes.
a facts guy, I'm an
Possible,
energy
possible.
girl.
Yes.
The wall yeller did make a difference with Ian.
You're
That's
Achilles'
what's
boy.
different to me.
Connor,
I think
wasn't?
she made
Okay,
more of a
moving
difference,
on,
but that's a
moving on.
conversation for another
I saw
day.
what
If
happened
we're
to
going
the
to entertain
townhouse.
that they did
A fine
make
mess,
a difference,
that.
I
Who are
think
you?
for me, the reason
Samuel
why,
Adams,
and I
at the
fully
circus.
accept that normally I am a purist. I'm like,
Achilles
it's not
asked me to
okay
get you out of
for
Boston.
an outside force to affect
Explain.
a player's
The whole
game.
city's
So
looking
normally
for you.
that is where I am. And I think why I have a different opinion this time around, and I will completely be honest and upfront that I am biased about this. It has been really hard to watch the players with privilege be fed up in this game and continue to maintain privilege and
What am I
completely
supposed to do?
segregate those marginalized players in the house and put them on the outskirts of power. And we were going to see a successful
Well, you can take down these posters
elimination
for a start.
of those marginalized players.
Return to me once you remove the others.
So in this instance, I have been pro, and normally I would be against, because
We
what it
can't be
has done
seen
is
together until
completely
these
opened up
posters
the
are gone.
game. It's made it more exciting, and it's given opportunity to those
Fuck
players who have
off.
been marginalized to have a bit more of
How'd I
that
get detected
empowerment
like
in the
that?
game, and to see a bit more
It
clearly.
feels cathartic to me in some ways, like for us. I don't
Wow,
even know
fuck,
if it's for the
okay,
players, but it
whatever.
felt good to us.
I guess we're gonna have to
Terrence,
fight them.
that.
Here's why I am anti-wall yeller, even though I love what you said and I agree with you, because
Fuck off.
and here's my honest opinion, I think the more likely scenario, because I genuinely don't see any reason to believe that the wall yeller impacted something that was in motion for weeks. What I do think the wall yeller might have impacted is
Ian.
and with Ian, it might actually stop what was in motion for weeks. It might actually prevent the thing that it was trying to cause. And that's what happens when we encourage people to wall yell, is that we have no control over who's wall yelling and what they're wall yelling. And even if they have good intentions, they might end up stopping the very thing that we were hoping to see.
I agree, Taryn, and like this was such a rare circumstance, and I was like, yes. And normally I'd be like, I do not encourage it. It is not right. I think in
Screw it.
this
Let's just
situation,
fight them.
if it did truly change the house in the way that I individually saw, that I was okay with it, and I accept that I am being biased in this, and that I normally would not be.
Pro bias, Teresa.
Okay. Okay.
And by the way, you guys are both fantastic.
Yeah.
The chat is like going crazy, and I love the fact that both of you have firm opinions. That you're like there's no tea. Like you guys are fucking awesome.
Karen, I totally get it because like you are coming to me with like facts and logic, and I'm hitting back with like energy.
He's the robot.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like
I acknowledge that.
debate of Karen is the man of science, truthfully, you're a woman of faith. Then you're John Locke. Like I know it's changed.
To be fair, I am taking the facts and also applying my emotional read on it. I think it's important to have both in an argument.
Well, and I think for me, I am looking at a logical perspective.
Ah, Connor.
And for me, the
There
biggest
you
thing
are.
was that conversation.
I'd like you to meet
between Day and
Cyrus.
Christmas, and I'm not doing a good
Is he the killer?
point of being able to reference why that conversation was such a shift for me.
Cyrus
so I'm
is
gonna
on
go
our
do my
side,
homework
or rather,
and maybe
for the
DM
right
you and
price,
have a
he will be.
conversation about that.
Have you seen this man?
I hope that
Watch and
everyone
learn.
understands that, and I hope you feel the same way, Sharifa, that this is fun.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
It's good podcast.
Word has reached us that the man responsible for today's shooting may have been in disguise. A wig and makeup tin were found near the scene of the crime. Witnesses describe a middle-aged gentleman of pale complexion fleeing towards the wharves, rifle in arm.
Look that way.
Thank
How
you kindly,
much
Cyrus.
have Bailey and Devon
Come on, man.
hitched their
There's still
wagons
one
to
last
the
bit of
Slick
work to
Six
do.
being the thing?
I mean, yeah, I feel like they think that the Slick Six is a thing.
Where are we
insofar as
going?
long
To
as
the
it's good for
printer.
them. I don't
think
think
all those
that they
posters
trusted
came
Tara. Do you?
They're made by a
No, they've
machine.
never trusted it.
Yeah.
But the way that they play the game is
Fuck
that
off.
they do want to put all their eggs in one basket, but they don't trust the basket.
I can go by
and that's,
rooftop
I think
and
in
meet
part
you there.
because they want to put all their eggs in the basket, and nobody really plays the game
I don't
that way. At least in this house. And so it's kind of an incompatible desire, and it's causing this sort of rift of well, we want to do this, we can't do this because we don't trust it, which is causing them to not trust us, and so it's been kind of a mess from the start. But they would like to run to the end with an alliance. They were talking about their final free strategy with it, but they have not trusted Danny in particular, especially over the last week. So
Just FYI, I am convinced that Tyler would go with them. Are you not? I don't think you would go the final three with Day and Bay, but I do feel like that Tyler would take Day and Bay a long way into the game. Yes?
I think Day
Yeah, I
is
think-
a bit more concerned about. I feel like every time he tries to build a bridge with her, something happens that makes him a little uneasy. I think he'd be okay to see Day leave.
yes, I think because when Tyler won the HOH and he was going to take out Janelle, I said on my stream that okay, the next move is to pick up Bay and Day and to make
Here
a
we
move
are.
on Cody's power structure, and that's exactly what he did. Now I'm thinking about, okay, I'm Tyler again. What do? The move is to break up Bay and Day, and sort of destabilize their power structure because they've got Kevin to a degree, they've got David to a degree, and if you're not careful, they might start to gain too much power. So if he can weaken them a little bit, maintain his hold on Christmas, now Tyler has a pretty firm control of the game.
But does he have enough pieces if he was going to break up Bailey and Devon? I mean, what does he have left
Hold on.
then with just Bay and Kevin? And who else does he have at that point?
His
Enzo
timing needs to be right.
Yes.
and
I
Christmas
think
and David.
after he makes
A
a move
ragtag
on
bunch.
Yes.
He
And,
needs to,
when
like,
I
they
say,
can... Go ahead.
he needs to prepare it,
Which
as
he
early
does.
Next week might be a little soon, but you can't always control that. It depends on who wins HOH. So, the week after Danny leaves. He could wait until Danny leaves
Use
and then
your
make
lantern
the
to
move, or he
light
could
the
wait till
lamps,
Danny
Connor.
leaves and then wait
They'll
another
help us
week,
find
maybe
our
take
way
Ian
should we
out,
get turned
and then
around.
make the
I wonder
move,
why they
but,
built these tunnels.
he needs to start setting it up.
Excellent.
And I think
Let
he
us
can't
move
be
on.
the person who does it.
Exactly.
Because
Much
he
as
wants
it
to be
pains
able
me
to
to say it,
swoop
we
in
must
and
follow
snatch
the
at
rats,
Bailey and
as
bring
they
her
often
in
move in
for
the
a number
direction
for
of the
him.
next.
It would be great. Yeah, if he can get Danny out, let's say he can win HOH this next week and get Danny out of the house. Cody has nowhere to go but come back to him, and obviously Cody would be with him. But then
You were
Tyler's
right.
the HOH.
I apologize for
I don't
ever
think he's
doubting.
with him.
No wonder
but
Achilles
he's
has
gonna,
taken such
he
an
realizes,
interest in
in
you.
my view, that he's currently lost this battle with Tyler in terms of not trusting Danny. Cody and Danny were talking on the feeds earlier today, and they both agreed that Danny's in hot water and that it's her fault, that she like screwed up in terms of not revealing to Tyler that she had told Nicole about the Slick Six and amongst other things. So I do think that there is an avenue for him to swing back, like after, if he gets Danny out of the house, because he'll be the outgoing HOH, somebody else can take out Bay and Day, and then he gets to pick up who's left, and then make a run at the end.
I think he'll make sure that it's Day who goes home. I think that he is going to protect Bay there, because I think
all of the boys currently want to protect Bay. Although earlier today, I do know that Danny was talking about Bay, and because Bay had talked about the two people that are playing both sides in this particular room in the house, and Tyler was the only other person that it could be, and Cody and Danny realized that it could be the two of them that she's talking about in terms of the secret that she was going to tell Christmas. So now Cody may be feeling less confident with Bailey than maybe otherwise, because prior to today, Cody was definitely Team Bay, and now he doesn't seem like he's definitely Team Bay.
And also, might as well just check this.
Handicap
Is this the third episode for today? I guess it is, isn't it? Of course I get an ad. Oh, I didn't talk about my International Survivor top 10 player video. It's okay. Like, technically it is under expectation. Ideally it would have been probably around 500 views higher than what it currently is. I think last time I checked. Let's just check it again.
Because prior to today, Cody was definitely.
It is currently
and now he doesn't seem like he's definitely
at 1.3 thousand. It's about 200 views behind my Amazing Race video. It's number 7 now. I lost 10 videos.
Fine.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would have been probably closer to where my Survivor Borneo video ended up landing. It is what it is, though. I'm not that upset over it. Like, it's fine. Like, it's gonna land somewhere in like the 3,000 view range. But I would have preferred it to be better.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm supporting that. What I want to argue is that is why I feel this rhetoric that without Day, Bailey is in a much better position.
So now you've had a chance to see how it all works.
I think that Day complements Bay in a lot of areas. Just that conversation that they had after that Danny exchange,
depending on the severity of your
like,
transgression, they may simply search a bit before giving up and returning to their post. But should you offend
yeah, but so far on this replay here of AC3, not great. I think I've always had issues with AC3 in terms of its pacing and its structure, and I do think that's really becoming evident in this playthrough here.
We counter one lie with another. Words on paper instantly taken as
I still,
and all of it without question.
I still don't get the outward hate for Connor thing. Like, I understand, like, you know, agreeing with some of the decisions they end up making, but I really do love his portrayal.
My apologies. I do
Fuck
not mean
off,
to
hurry
sound
up, Sam.
ungrateful.
Quite alright. I was much the same at your age. You'll grow out of it.
And if I do not?
Without Casey is better for his game. I disagree
Here
with
we
that.
are.
I think having an ally there is
Speak with the
always
Hollow
better
Master,
than
and
not
he'll
having
see
an
you
ally
home.
there. It's just
Thank
that
you for
once
everything,
you lose
Sam.
that ally, the
I
target
promise
falls
one
off
day
your
to
back and
repay
you
the
get into a
favor.
better position technically.
Oh, I'm counting on
You
it.
no longer have that target on your back. But if you can have the ally
Like this.
and also avoid the target, then you're even a better spot.
I agree.
This is from Ryan, who says, I've seen so much vitriol against Dan and Derek for ruining the season by creating pregame alliance.
Again,
What alliance is everyone talking about? Who's in it? How did they convince everyone to stick to the alliance? Did they also convince Melissa to give Enzo a 6 on the stopwatch?
This question is too logical, Rob. We are not supposed to ask questions about this conspiracy theory. We are just supposed to accept that Derek ruined the season, and we can't say anything against it, or we are just Derek
fanboys. Yeah, exactly.
But if we were going to entertain a conspiracy theory, I think the frustration comes from, I feel, and I'll say feel and not know, I feel that there is no way that there wasn't any sort of influence. I think there was influence somewhere, whether it's as much as people have built up in their heads or little, but I think the frustration is that there have been outside forces that came in and sort of influenced that.
That's gonna happen in any
the way that they were talking about
season
on the feeds.
of
So
All
that's
Stars.
sort of where I am in terms of feeling frustrated with
And even
those
then,
two, but
I
not to the
really
level that
don't
has
feel like
gone on
it's nearly
thus
as
far.
much as people are saying.
Basically, there is a theory. The theory that most people are upset about, I think, is that there was a massive alliance that was built in the pregame, specifically to go into the game with a specific game plan. I think that theory is, I'm going to say, impossible.
Who's in that alliance?
Exactly. Nobody can say exactly.
I mean, I feel like that the pregame alliance that I think that kind of has been confirmed was that Tyler and KC were going to come in and work with Josh and Christmas. I feel like that is...
Yes.
That's the urban legend that we've heard, yes.
That's the urban legend. But what's the rest of it then?
Well, okay, so here's what we've confirmed on the feeds and otherwise. We know that Tyler and Christmas talked, or at least had something. They were planning on Casey and Josh being there.
You
we
left
know
me in
that
Boston.
Janelle and Danny
The training we've
had
done
a pregame
here
alliance.
is all well and good.
We
But
might have reason to
experience is a
suspect that
better
Janelle
teacher
and
by
Bailey
far.
might
What
have
of my
had
father?
some kind
Sure.
of
Into the wind, I'm afraid.
We have to find him.
We have
And
an
we will
idea that
after the house
perhaps
has been
Nicole
repaired.
and Danny
But he's
might
out
have
there
had some
plotting who knows
communication.
what.
And what would you
can
do
have a read
when you
on
found
Memphis
him?
and Cody
If
as
you
perhaps
found
having
him.
communicated before
You're
they
a
entered
boy
the game.
with a few months of training.
And
He's a man
I
full
think-
grown who
I
spent
think that's
decades
everything
honing
that
his skills.
I feel has been
If you're
like
going to
relatively
stand a
confirmed
chance
on
against
the
the
feeds.
Templars,
A lot of people
you're going to
suspect
need
that
these.
that Cody and Nicole might have had something. That's what Ian thinks. He thinks that Derek set Cody and Nicole up. Nicole has.
They know they played on a season together. Why does he need Derek to set that up?
Exactly.
She played with his brother too.
Cody was literally on her podcast like a couple of weeks before the season started. I don't think they needed Derek to set them up. But she has been on record saying that she lied to Derek about being on the season. He had a tweet about it before she even said that he was upset with her. And her and Cody have spoken privately on camera, saying he's pissed at you because you lied to him, and like a lot of that stuff. So that's, I think, a lot of what. Tyler and David is the one I'm forgetting. We know that Tyler and David communicated before the season.
He's going to die!
Yeah. So that's what we know.
And Bailey and Davon also, right?
I don't think they did, because wasn't there that conversation that Day and Bay
Swag
had?
said that Bailey would give the game to Davon. How did they know that if they didn't talk it through with Davon?
Well, I think that because the thing that I'm pinning to is a conversation that Day and Bay had where Day was apologizing for not responding when Bay reached out after Big Brother, and I feel like that would have meant they hadn't had communication since.
I just think it's absurd that if I'm friends with somebody and I'm also gonna go and be on a season of a show, like I feel like I would at least like talk to them if I'm like a decent enough friend with that person.
Yeah, you would think.
I would just like, not even if it's like, hey, like who do you want to target? Like hey, let's work together. This is gonna be awesome.
I also think, just speaking as like a marginalized player, that like if I'm in the house with a trans person or if I'm in the house with an Arab person, like 9 out of 10 I'm probably gonna work with them. I think that maybe there's a conversation between Bailey and Swaggy where he relayed this information about Day, whether it was during All Stars or not. But just from the conversation that they had in the house, I really don't think that they spoke beforehand, and I don't think it's illogical to think that if they hadn't had that conversation that they would be as close in the game as they are.
I agree with that read. I don't know if it's the same conversation that you're referring to, but they did have a conversation relatively early on together where they talked about Davon's relationship with Swaggy and how they're really close because she helped him through some things during the season, Big Brother 20, but they hadn't really ever talked much, and they it felt like hey, Swaggy might have told us both to work together, but this is the first time we're talking.
Yeah. I do think that Bailey had
What this
conversations with
knob
Christmas
end is
beforehand,
trying
because they
to
were
say is
very
he's
close
forever
when
in your
the
debt,
first few
sir.
days. in the house. Like they were like cuddling and doing all this stuff, and now you never would have known
because
that. I do wonder if there was a
What were you doing on those logs?
Yes,
the dangers
but in
of
terms
lumbering.
the big alliance,
We've
there's
got the
no
camp
reason
set up
to
a few
believe
rods off of
personally,
here as we're cutting
it's,
timber.
I think impossible.
We're hoping to open
think
a mill
that Danny
in the
was a
area.
part of it because
There's a
Cody
good
didn't
place not
like
far
Danny
from the
or
manor
trust
on the
Danny
hill
at
where
start
I'm
of the
staying.
game. She also had a conversation with him where
I
she was
like
like,
you already.
"Oh, did you talk
We'll
to
have a
Derek
look."
before you came in?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." That's a weird question to ask alone if you both were set up in an alliance by Derek. If Danny wasn't a part of it, she's like literally like in the core of everything at the beginning of the game. So very weird that she wouldn't be a part of it. Very lying to Derek. The same thing she said for Big Brother 18, which all checks out based on everything that everyone else has said. So there's just, again, I feel like a lot
Look,
of
here's the thing. Like, the thing with Big Brother, you just have to go with it, people, is that when the season's going shitty, which it usually is at the beginning, like we
Meet me at the small shack by the shoreline when you have time.
tinfoil hat
There's
conspiracy
something
theories about
else you
why
need
the
to
season's
see.
going bad. Like, I don't really take them
What is it?
seriously, but I definitely have fun with it. And
An
it's just a part of the Big
asset.
Brother culture. Like, come on.
So
Just go with it.
this is it, right?
Brad's
It's
the
just
voice of
the
reason, everybody.
naval.
I think the
mission.
conspiracy theories
Um,
are fun. I
okay.
don't think that saying, "Oh, these conspiracy theories justify any kind of interference in the game, or justify attacking people outside of the house, or justify completely saying that like, oh, this season is worthless because they cheated." Like that's where I feel like this isn't a fun conspiracy theory anymore. This is not fun. Just yelling.
People are being very negative towards them and like using derogatory language, and it's like relax, chill. It's not that deep. There's no confirmation. Like, be respectful.
Okay, let's do one more question.
I
and
know,
we'll
it's
start
alright.
to wrap
Like,
up,
who gives a
okay?
shit?
BB Fan 325. Did you notice they just briefly mentioned that Christmas volunteered for the block towards the end? Will the casuals understand? I mean, do we understand? By the way, how did Memphis hurt himself in this competition? Did Memphis hurt his back hosting this competition?
Yeah.
I didn't hurt it during the hosting. No.
No, I didn't think it was during the hosting. Like, he definitely hurt his back, which is why he's been on the vent lately. But I don't understand why Christmas volunteered. From my perspective, there was nothing up until then that indicated that was about to happen. And then it's almost like it just came out of her mouth. And then he was like, "Oh." And then, like, even after it came out of her mouth, she didn't realize he was going to cash that check because, like, it was not talked about for a couple days.
It was before the veto even happened.
Yeah, so, like, there was no...
that's when that conversation happened. I missed
that one, yeah. So then, like, 2 days later, he's like, you volunteered? Like, I think I might have to put you up. She's like, well, and then she starts to backtrack a little bit, but then she realizes he's going to cash this check, and there's nothing she can really do about it, so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about what else is going on RobHasWebsite.com. Last night, we had another one of our Black Voices of Survivor Roundtable. Sean Rector put together another great panel. We had a lot of new faces with us last night. That is up on RobHasWebsite.com, including Jeremy Collins joined us last night, which was very exciting. Really great discussion. Check that out up on RobHasWebsite.com. Then, okay, Love Island. We know Janelle's watching, Tyler's favorite show. Check out Kirsten McInnes, Brian Scally, and Evan Windsor on the Love Island recap, the Monday and Tuesday edition of Love Island. So check that out up on RobHasWebsite.com.
Then go away, boy!
Mole Patrol.
You not speak
Josh,
the King's
Jeff, and
English?
Brooklyn Zed are rewatching The Mole.
Oh, I didn't
from
see you there, old man.
Almost 20 years ago.
I'd have set
Check
my
that
home
out.
in order
Join,
if I'd
Josh
known
on
you'd
that
be
journey.
calling.
A spoiler-free
boy's name
rewatch
is Connor.
of The Mole. as
He's
they
here
get
to
close
restore the
to the end of
property.
season 1.
Restore?
This weekend.
Restore?
Oh, really?
Pardon my manners.
Ian Rosenberger. I recorded this in a podcast today. Ian Rosenberger from Survivor Palau.
She's still the
was our
fastest in
guest
the
on
Atlantic.
Talking
Sure,
with
she needs
T-Bird.
some
Look
attention.
for that
Minor
Friday
things
night.
mostly,
We'll drop
but
that,
with a
really
little
great
affection,
conversation
she'll
with,
fly again.
Big,
I know,
Who
right?
is she?
Such a deep pull.
That's so.
Who
I
is
will
she?
never forget him.
Why, the Aquila boy,
stepping down
the
and
ghost
yelling,
of the
"I
North
take
Seas.
theirs." That was such an
The
iconic
boat.
moment.
Well,
Yeah,
a
he
boat?
has a
She's
really
a ship
interesting
boy, and make
story
no mistake
what
about
he's up
it.
to
I
now,
thought
and
you
think
brought
that
him here
that's
to
some
restore
really
order.
great
I reckon he's the
perspective
greenest thing on the
why
frontier.
he did what he
Connor,
did and how he ultimately
meet
feels
me
about
back
that
at the
now.
manor when you've
Check that out.
finished here.
Really fun News AF.
You said
this
it
week
requires
as well.
repairs.
What
do you eat
You
for
able?
breakfast, and what does that say about you as a person, especially if you eat peanut butter for breakfast? We talked about that.
And yes,
much
I
more,
can
including
refit them, but
Sylvester
I'm
Stallone's
lacking
decision
in
to
the proper
remove that
supplies.
80s robot from Rocky
Some
IV.
quality timber
Very
would help
fun
me get
episode
started.
with, Danny and
I can see to
Tyson
that.
on the latest News AF. And
How long
then
before
the LFC roundtable
she
from last night
is able to sail
LFC
again?
Roundtable,
Just
even
get
if it's
me
a couple
the
days
lumber
old,
boy.
still a good listen, still
I'll
fresh.
raise
Check out
a crew.
Karen, Brent, and Lavina on the LFC Roundtable Stockwatch edition from Tuesday night.
Yes, and there were a couple of LOL moments in that Stockwatch. Melissa had turned in her ratings to Lavina a couple days ahead of time, and Lavina read them off, and we input them into the Stockwatch, and a couple of them were some doozies, and had Taryn on the floor almost.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, then tomorrow morning, join Karen and Mari to discuss the live feeds as we get ready for Eviction Night coming up on Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and then we will be live after the
We'll
episode
end here in a
with
second.
our recap. The episode
We'll probably
is
get
gonna
up
be,
there and then
Melissa, Liana, and
in the
Josh
next
Williams joining us
episode,
tomorrow night, so
we'll
be
probably
there
get
for
to
that,
on.
and we'll see. Maybe we'll have a new HOH to
course.
discuss as well. Of course, all this Big Brother podcasting and more is available. robhasawebsite.com/Patreon. We've got something new going on as well for the patrons starting tomorrow night.
Ah, fuck
Big Brother
off. Of course
pregame
it's
show.
fucking...
Call in.
There you go.
God damn it, I really
Something
didn't
to
do
show
that.
you.
Was a
Come,
lot of fun.
take a look.
Get to hear from people. You can
What is it?
talk about what's going on with the
A ledger.
evictions. Your
It lets us
HOH
manage the homestead's
wishes. I will
dealings.
be live an hour before the episode.
And these?
Taking your calls.
That
patrons
was
only
years ago.
for the
Before
Big
the
Brother
snow
Eviction
fever,
Night
before the
pregame
Templars,
show. And on top of
before
that,
everything
also, Patreon
collapsed.
just unlocked a new feature where
But that's
you
all
can
in the
set up
past.
an annual membership.
Better we focus on what's in front of us. Take up the ledger, and I'll teach you how it all works.
1 month for free. That's all at robswebsite.com/patron if you want to check that out. And also, follow us on social media. We've been trying to get more and more clips from the shows out, so if you miss anything, great way to catch up on stuff. At Rob is a Podcast on Twitter, at RHAP Grams for half grams on Instagram, and of course on Facebook as well. Look for Rob as a Podcast. All right, fun show tonight.
Excellent show. One of my favorite shows that I have been a part of this season. Honestly, you guys were fantastic.
Yes.
This felt more like a roundtable than a recap, and I loved it.
Yes. Okay. Good. Good. All right. Good. Good. Double roundtable.
Roundtable.
Yes. Okay. Well, Sharifa, thank you. This was such a heated debate tonight, and it was so much fun.
I didn't mean to
Time passed
incite
quickly after
controversy,
that.
but thank you for having me.
My
This
days a
was
blur
a
of study,
blast.
You're
training,
awesome.
and
Ripa, I
work.
just want to tell you that
What little free
you're gonna
time
go back,
Achilles
you might wanna
allowed
watch-
me was spent
some
learning
people
about the
look at
Templars,
the chat 'cause they wanna see,
about
how people
Charles Lee
respond
and my
You're
father.
gonna get like
I longed
90%
to
people
confront
like,
them,
Sharipa's amazing,
to put an end
she's
to their
iconic,
schemes,
thank you
to
so
ensure
much
my
for
people
being
would
a
remain
voice for me.
untroubled and
There's
free.
gonna be 10% of people
Hey,
there.
But
you know
I knew
what?
it was too soon,
Don't listen to it.
that to
Okay,
approach
good.
them now would see
you
me
are
killed.
exactly the inverse of the
All
wall
my
yeller,
work would be for
according to
nothing.
Joe.
Patience, restraint. These
You're
proved the
right,
most
you're right there,
difficult
okay.
subjects for me.
Sharifa, where can people keep up with
But
what
in
you're
time,
doing?
I mastered them
So
as
you
well.
can find me at Twitter
Days
at
became
Sunnything
months.
Obscene
Months
_.
became years.
I have
And as my skills
left
and knowledge
Huffbuster
grew,
as a main host, and I am now
so
a
too did I.
correspondent,
Let's
but
hit
I
that.
am maintaining Brown Girl Breakdown,
Or not.
which is going
Okay.
to be this
Well, I will end
Wednesday,
here. Next episode
September
continue on for now. Thanks
23rd
for
at
watching.
6 p.m. We're going to be talking